I just couldn't work it out.
30 kilometers away, in the Osaka Observatory, Toshio Arimoto races to find the origin of the quake.
It read, Awaji Island. Magnitude 7.2.
Awaji Island sits on the edge of the Akashi Channel, just 15 kilometers from Kobe City. Arimoto is staggered. For the first time in 4 centuries, a massive earthquake has struck the Kobe area. 5:47 and 12 seconds. Just 14 seconds after the violent shuddering began, the earthquake subsides. Yoshio Fukumoto holds his breath. His bus teeters on the edge of the shattered freeway. The front wheels hang over a 15-meter drop. He's terrified that it will plunge to the ground. He must get the passengers off the bus. Yukiko Shono, trapped in the rubble of her home, gradually regains consciousness. But she's so dazed, she doesn't even realize where she is.
I felt pain, as though my whole body had been shattered. I thought I had had a car accident, got hit by a car, and my body was paralyzed. That's what I thought. It was a car accident.
Now in Kobe's residential areas, there's a deadly new hazard. Fire. Hundreds lie trapped in the collapsed remains of their traditional wooden houses. Dawn light reveals the vast scale of the disaster. The quake knocked tower blocks to the ground, toppled road bridges, and flattened entire neighborhoods of traditional Japanese houses. Thousands of people lie dead and dying in the city's shattered remains. Under her crushed house, Yukiko Shono lies trapped and badly injured. The temperature is just above freezing. If rescuers don't come soon, the alternatives are grim. Freeze to death or be burnt alive. A magnitude 7.2 earthquake rips apart the Japanese city of Kobe. Thousands lie trapped and dying under wreckage. On the Hanshin Expressway, a tour bus narrowly escapes disaster. After getting his passengers safely off the bus, driver Yoshio Fukumoto is desperate to tell his company in Kyoto what's happened.
So I phoned the office and said, the Hanshin Expressway has collapsed. The bus is just hanging off the edge. He told me to stop joking. Maybe it was a bit too early in the morning for him, but he sounded annoyed.
The man tells Yoshio to go back and retrieve the bus's legal documents, in case the bus falls over the edge.
The guy just didn't understand what had happened. It was hard to believe.
Dutifully, Yoshio returns to the precariously balanced bus. He inches towards the front and retrieves the documents. In the dawn light, Fukumoto takes pictures of his remarkable escape using a disposable camera.
The way it was sticking out looked completely different from when we were up there. It was much more scary to look up from beneath, and I really wondered how I'd survived.
It's a miraculous escape. Fukumoto walks away from his brush with death without a scratch. 4.5 kilometers from the stranded bus, 59-year-old Yukiko Shono isn't so lucky. She's been crushed beneath the wreckage of her home for over 2 hours.
I couldn't breathe, and I was choking and sweating. I thought the only release from this agony would be to die. I wondered how I could kill myself.
Kobe's emergency services struggle to cope with the scale of the disaster. Emergency vehicles find it almost impossible to move around the city's debris-clogged streets. 8:30 a.m. Yukiko's daughter, Kumiko, arrives in her mother's traditional neighborhood with her husband. Her own more modern home survived the quake. She and her little daughter escaped unhurt. But she's horrified to find that where her mother's house stood is just a shattered pile of timber and roof tiles. She realizes her mother and brother must lie beneath the tons of debris.
At that point, I thought they were probably dead, because I couldn't believe a person could survive under that rubble.
Ruptured gas mains fuel fires raging across the city. But the quake also breaks many of the water mains, leaving firefighters helpless in the face of the inferno. They pump water straight from the sea, but it's a frustratingly slow process.
There was no water, and having no water at the fire was deadly. I just felt really helpless. Everything I had learnt before was no use at all in the earthquake.
2:30 p.m. In the region where Yukiko Shono lives, many of the traditional wooden houses are ablaze. And the fires are spreading. She becomes increasingly desperate.
I was in such agony. I couldn't move my right arm at all because it was trapped. But I found this piece of wood. With my left hand, I started to make a banging noise.
Outside, Yukiko's daughter hears something. It's not her mother, but her mother's dog. Kumiko is certain the dog is trying to tell her something.
She barked and stopped, and kept staring at my face. Then she barks again, and when she stops, I can hear a tapping noise. So I called out, "Mother, Mother!" And we heard a tapping response. And we realized she was still alive.
Kumiko finds some construction workers. They help her dig towards the sounds of the tapping. It's slow work. One wrong move and the wreckage could crash down and kill her mother. Two hours later, they finally reached Yukiko. She's been buried for 10 hours. Her right leg is paralyzed. Her hip is broken. But she is alive. Finding her mother gives Kumiko new hope. Her younger brother, Satoshi, could be alive too, somewhere under the debris. She calls out, but he doesn't answer. They start to dig again. Five hours later, they find him. But it's too late.
When they checked my brother's pulse, they told me he didn't make it. It was the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me.
That evening, Kumiko has to break it to her mother that her beloved son is dead. He was just 29 years old.
So my daughter told me that Satoshi didn't make it, and I couldn't speak. I just said, I see. I cried underneath my quilt after she left, making sure that my tears couldn't be seen from the outside.
Yukiko Shono's son is just one of 5,502 people killed. More than 235,000 people are homeless. More than 100,000 buildings destroyed. The quake wrecks electricity and water systems. The damage tops $150 billion. It's the world's most costly disaster. It overwhelmed the city's emergency services, and help from the national government took almost 2 days to arrive. Japan prides itself on its ability to build earthquake-proof buildings. So why does their city lie in ruins? And why didn't scientists predict a major quake? The population of Kobe wants answers. 24 separate teams of experts embark on a wide-ranging investigation of the disaster. Seismologists will explore the quake itself, while engineering experts probe the failure of buildings and structures. Now, by rewinding the disaster and by going deep into the investigation, we reveal what really happened at Kobe, how so many people died, and why the quake left the city looking like a war zone. Advanced computer simulation will take us where no camera can go, into the heart of the Kobe disaster. Earthquake expert Professor Charles Scawthorne is one of the first on the scene. By a remarkable coincidence, he was attending an earthquake conference just 30 kilometers from Kobe and actually felt the quake. He quickly realizes that this is an earthquake of colossal proportions.
This was the most significant earthquake of the second half of the 20th century. This was a direct hit on as modern a society as you can have in the world, and it was totally devastating.
Japanese experts working with him cannot believe the scale of the destruction.
My Japanese colleagues really were having a difficult time because they just did not expect this. It may be like Americans on 9/11. This was something that was shocking.